Hello, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the fall of the Aztec Empire. We've been talking about their rise to power and how they became an empire, how everyday life looked like for the Aztecs, and today we're going to talk about their fall a little bit more. And in particular, we're going to talk about this man here, Hermes Cortes. Now, here's a pretty young picture of him, I'm guessing. There's a few other pictures of him looking a little older. But let's learn just a little bit about him to start off with. So he is, or was, a Spanish conquistador, an explorer, and he was the one who defeated the Aztecs and claimed Mexico for Spain. Born in 1485, he was born and traveling about the same time that Christopher Columbus would have been traveling. Christopher Columbus arrived in America in 1492, right? So Cortes had sailed a few different places. He'd gone to the New World at age 19. He'd set off to Cuba. But in 1518, he set off to explore Mexico. And at this age, he would have been 1485 to 1518, just around 40 years old. And so he probably would have looked a little bit different in age, more similar to this. So again, he's about 1485 to 1518, just under 40 years old, late 30s is what he would have been. Now, he set sail with a crew to explore, under direction from Spain and the emperor, to explore the land and find out more about it so that someone could come back later and conquer and defeat the Aztecs. However, I think it's clear from the story and what you know, he took all these ships filled with science experiments and, a few warriors, a very small amount, just for defense of the troops or from the crew. And he was to just come and do some investigation. Of course, Cortes would have none of that. And he had a secret mission. He knew of the legend of the Aztecs and how powerful they were and how much gold they had. And he wanted it. And so he, despite the limited resources he had a plan to conquer the land when he was there. And he would take all the gold and riches and he would rule the land. And he would be rich, was his plan. And as it turned out, through a series of events that worked out very well and in Cortes's favor, he was able to destroy the Aztecs. And in fact, in 2 short years, he ended up conquering them, which was incredible. And so a few things happened that led to that. Partially, it was a difference of worldviews that led to his advancement. Partially, it was a difference in warfare and how the Spanish and the Aztecs fought. But partially, it was as well because of a rumor of someone, a Aztec god named Cohesita. And he was a legendary god of the Aztecs, and it just so happened that rumor had it that he had abandoned the Aztec society, and he was due to come back about the same time that the Spanish landed in the area. So everything was set for a battle to happen. Here was Cortes, who looked a lot like this legendary god, and in fact, upon arriving in what is now Mexico, Cortes did a few investigative things, and he found out, and he became friends and allegiances with the locals who also hated the Aztecs. They hated their overlord, and they wanted change, and they wanted to see the Aztecs fall. And they told Cortes about this god that should be returning and said how similar he looked to what the god should be. And so Cortes dressed up like this god, and he approached the Aztecs, and the Aztecs were fooled, and they thought the legendary god had come back. And the interesting thing was that the legend of Quetzalcoatl was that he would destroy the Aztecs. And so the Aztecs, not that they didn't fight, they definitely fought, but in the back of their minds, they knew this was the end for them. Because legend had said that this guy would come conquer them. And before they figured out that Cortes was not a god, it was too late. And their fall and their fate was set. and there was nothing they could do about it. So on top of that, there's also the fact that there was a differing world view for the Aztec and the Spanish. Now, if you look in closely here and you remember what we've learned, the Aztecs are fighting with bows and arrows, and they're fighting with spears. But if we look over here, what's happening with the Spanish is that they have guns, they have shields, they have horses, they have metal and steel weapons. And so that alone made it an unfair fight. And so the thousands upon thousands of Aztecs were no match for the hundreds of Spanish warriors that were attacking. In addition to that, unfortunately for the Aztecs, they had a highly religious view of what to do with the people they were attacking. And they had been taking them captive, and of course, as we know, making human sacrifices out of them. So the Aztecs were not out to shoot and kill, if we could say that. They were out to capture and bring back to the main cities to be sacrificed. Well, that was not the view of the Spanish. The Spanish saw thousands of Aztecs and thought, let's shoot them dead as quick as we can. And so while the Spanish were just shooting from far distances, the Aztecs were trying to sneak up and capture. And so they almost actually got Cortes a few times. But because they refused to kill him there, but rather wanted to take him back for sacrifice, he kept sneaking away. And that was a very unfortunate downfall for the Aztecs, because at any given time, any of the Spanish would just shoot them. And it was not working out very well for the Aztecs in that regards. And what we would call this is their worldview was differing, right? One of them was to conquer and destroy and get rid of, and the other was to repurpose this group that was attacking them for religious value. So what we had was a quick demise of the Aztecs. Again, in 2 short years, they were destroyed. Their palaces and treasures and everything was taken, burned, destroyed, and Cortes ended up raising up in their place what is now modern-day Mexico City was Mexico City in the time of the Aztecs' fall. So he destroyed the whole land, Cortes did, and rebuilt Mexico in the way he dreamed it would be. And he became the new emperor and the new ruler of this land, which was his dream. And it was crazy that he could do this, again, because that was not why he had showed up, and that was not the crew that he was sent with. But because of so many differing and unfortunate situations for the Aztecs, this huge empire had come to a very, very quick demise.